exploding planets, wild west frontier of the deep space wilds, thousands of planets with tons of resources, an age of exploration in human history like we have never seen before. But hey, let's just fight over one planet and one resource, even though there's like tons. That's right, I'm talking about fighting over a planet when there's thousands more. This is Ciobola Burn by James S.A. Corey, book 4 in the Expanse. If you want to know more, stay tuned because that's coming right up here on Drew's Book Reviews. Good day and welcome to Drew's Book Reviews. Today, as you saw, we're going to talk about Ciobola Burn. This is the 4th book in the Expanse by James S.A. Corey. So of course, before we go further in this video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. Also, this is the 4th book in this series. If you haven't read the series, be aware that I am talking about the 4th book in the series. So there's, in all likelihood, going to be spoilers for at least some of the earlier books. But if you're watching the show, if you've watched the show, not really much we could spoil at this point because the show's already past book 4. And I can tell you, this one so far, Ciobola Burn, is probably going to be one of my favorite Expanse books in the series thus far. At least so far. I mean, there's like 9 books, so I still got 5 more to go. But book 4, Ciobola Burn. So if you've read up to this book or watched the TV show, you know that after the whole interplanetary war between Mars and the Belt and Earth and all that kind of stuff, and the alien proto-molecule, which, you know, shot up out of Venus and turned into some intergalactic space gate, creating this wormhole thing where there's access to tons of worlds across the galaxy, which is essentially where we've left off, or where we pick up with this book. So we got this ring gate, this massive ring gate, and we go through it. There's Medina, what's called Medina Station, or what was called the slow zone from the previous book, with the station at the middle. So we've got all these portals, like these wormholes to other systems throughout the galaxy, each one to a habitable world, literally thousands. There is one planet, New Terra, or Illis as it's called, depending on which side you're on, where trouble brews naturally, of course. And that's kind of what this story is based off, this exploration of these other worlds that are out there, and how the conflict between mankind and our different groups within mankind just doesn't seem to be resolved very easily. And this book is intense. There's so much crazy good stuff going on in this story, which is why I have to say it's probably one of my favorite in the Expanse so far. And I'm not even halfway through the series yet. Like, this series is just incredible. I absolutely love this series. It is just so good. So if you haven't read The Expanse, you need to go and read The Expanse. You can check out my other videos on The Expanse, my science fiction playlist that will probably be in the cards there, as well as you can just see the playlist on my channel, but definitely go and check it out. So of course, the conflict that we have set up in this book is we have these Belters who have decided that they're going to colonize this world, and they're going to call it Illis. We don't know why they chose that name. I don't know why they chose that name, but that's the name that's there, Illis. But then there is the RCE, or the Royal Charter Energy Corporation, which comes in, and they've got a UN pass, essentially, to go and colonize this world and extract its resources. But of course, the Belter group gets there first. They lay claim to the world. RCE says, no, we've got a charter for this world. It's our world. We get to do this. And of course, conflict brews and arises. But the thing is that there's a bigger threat facing these colonists, these intergalactic colonists on this world, far bigger than their conflict about who gets what claim. And the thing is, this planet is huge, and it's only one of thousands, and yet we still see people fighting. Now, the funny thing with this is, I don't know if it's funny, but the thing with this is, when you think about it, we are inherently a tribalistic animal. You know, we call them nations now, or countries, but essentially we have this thing where humans tend to gravitate towards certain groups and take some kind of pride in belonging to a particular group. And so there's this us versus them, which seems to be inherent to our human nature, regardless of what other options there are for peace. We're always striving for that peaceful coexistence, but that inherently conflict where we're just butting heads, that human nature will shine through each and every time. We see this consistently. We see this with the earlier global colonizations and the native tribes that in the areas as, you know, the British Empire and Europe in general spread across the world. We see these new frontiers all the time. And to be completely honest, I wouldn't be surprised to see it eventually happen with planets like Mars as we continue our exploration into the solar system. Hopefully not, but it wouldn't be surprising, honestly. And that's kind of what we see happening within this story. So you got the two sides fighting. In the meantime, not recognizing the threat of the now extinct, or appears to be extinct, alien civilization that left remnants of their technology behind on each of these worlds, and the inherent danger this poses. So of course, who else is going to be set in but Captain James Holden of the Rocinante? He is sent in as a mediator to try to mediate this dispute, and of course he's still got the ghost of, you know, Miller in his head, essentially. Which is like this hallucinogenic projection, and only he could see that is being projected through the proto-alien proto-molecule to communicate with him. And just this whole conflict, and then Miller trying to get Captain Holden to, you know, save the day, essentially, is what is going on. He has to be the one to save the day. And we got this whole planet blowing up, basically, which I'm just going to leave it at that because I don't want to get into too many spoilers, but just this massive boom, like this. We're talking about nuclear power plant exploding. This is magnitudes above that. So of course, first we've got the RCE and the Belters fighting over who owns the world, and now the world is completely devastated on an extinction level event, and the survivors must work together to survive, essentially, and try to put aside their differences in order for both sides to effectively survive. And this whole story, this whole conflict, everything in it is just amazing. I love the way it all works together so effectively well. Within another aspect that I've really come to like with this story and with this book as a whole is, I mean, in so much science fiction, you know, there's this idea, I mean, you look at things like Star Trek, Star Wars, all your typical science fiction where there's alien worlds and alien biospheres, and the people go around and they can try foods and stuff from other worlds. Like you see humans in Star Trek eating Romulan or Klingon or Vulcan or Ferengi food, right? Which is, I mean, sure, it's fine. There's nothing specifically wrong with that, but I always thought that was kind of a ridiculous idea. The idea that we could go to an alien world and eat the natural wildlife and plant life and it'd be edible to us. That never made sense to me, because on an alien world, we would expect that any life that exists on an alien world, whether highly developed or not, would not be edible by human standards. It would be developed under a different biosphere, likely with a different chemical component, different proteins, different molecules, different amino acids even. Things that are just too different from life on Earth that to be edible to humans. We would be a completely alien to that environment and ecosystem, that there's no way that that ecosystem can be biologically compatible with us in any way, whether that's through consumption for food purposes or otherwise. And so I always thought that was a really crazy, silly idea. Sure, it's fun. I just go with it when I'm watching those shows where that idea is there, that we could actually eat food from another planet. But I always thought it was kind of a silly idea. The Expanse definitely takes a very different approach, where it makes it clear that this is an alien world. Their biosphere, their ecosphere is so different from ours that none of the food, none of the plant or animal life that is inherently natural to this world is edible to humans. We can't live off of it. We can't digest it, it's not compatible. The protein base is different, the amino acids are different, unlike life on Earth where everything kind of evolved within the Earth biosphere, which makes it kind of edible within our ecosystem and biosphere. So I love how this book really kind of tackles that issue and says, hey, this isn't how it works. And of course, within this world as well, we've got other threats. It's not just the threat of this global devastation. We got the threat of what they're calling these death slugs, where their secretions or their slime is a neurotoxin. We got these little creatures that love salty environments, and so they get stuck in our eyes and makes us go blind. Just things that we could expect. Well, I don't know if we could expect them. I mean, who knows what to expect on an alien world, but the point is that this really tackles these ideas and really makes the alien world a true alien world, where things are simply not compatible with us, and I wouldn't expect that they would be. So I love how it takes that approach and it makes sense to me in this story, which I thought was really, really awesome. And just so well done with that, and I love that aspect of it. And in all honesty, when it comes to this particular book and this particular entry into the Expanse, the only thing I feel like I could really nitpick with this is the title. I mean, I'm not sure why it's called Ciobola Burn instead of Illis Burn or Nuterra Burn, which would make a lot more sense to me given the setting of the overall story arc within this book. But Ciobola, I'm not sure where that comes from. I suppose if I just looked it up, I could find out, eh? Maybe I should do that. But anyway, there really isn't much that I could say is a drawback to this book. I mean, there's a little bit of that belter slang in there, which was always just like, I have no idea what this person's saying, which is kind of annoying when you're reading it because you want to know what the characters are saying. But ultimately, at the end of the day, like, there just isn't much for me to nitpick in this. I just think that this book is well written. It's a good story. It's done well. And I think it really paints a realistic picture of human nature. At the end of the day, it's not this rose-colored science fiction, which we see with so much science fiction. And I love that aspect of it. And at the end of the day, it's just a good read. If you have not read The Expanse by James S.A. Corey, you've got to read it. You've got to check it out. It is such a good book series, and I am loving it. Absolutely loving it. Check it out. Check out my science fiction playlist. Check us out on Discord. You can join me over on Discord. I'll put the link for that down below. You could follow me on Bookstagram. I'll have my Bookstagram link below as well. And of course, like, comment, and subscribe. Those are my thoughts on James S.A. Corey's The Expanse, Book 4, Ciobola Burn. You can bet I'll be reading Book 5 next month. So thank you so much for watching. And until next time, keep on reading. Bye.